Bruce Wayne, is human no matter what. He truly represents the human potential that we can be.
Yeah.
I can be rich.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can be rich.
Can
gotta
be a
believe.
superhero.
Nerd On.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but you deserve, where all detectives can be billionaires if they just put their mind to it.
That's
I like that.
I really need to get the billionaire thing on point, though.
I'm working on
We
it.
all do.
I thought
That
of
is a
in
secret
couple
power.
minutes.
Money is.
Money.
Speaking of which, you can donate to help our podcast.
That is right. We were going to
can.
save that for the end, but hey, we can
I
talk
feel like
about
it's
it.
a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Segu.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to the end to learn more about that. The name is Ali. I'm one of our hosts here for Nerd On. Today we're going to be talking about some Batman stuff. It's going to be fun. But first, we're going to go around the room and say hi to everyone else.
This is Josh. I'm one of the hosts. I do the audio for the show, do some of the back end producing, like website and stuff and things. Yeah, that's what I do.
My name is Tom. I am the comic book guy and movie dude, and I read their group thread and tell them that they have good ideas. That's what I do.
The other
I'm
day, I
Corey.
just want to say you didn't text us back at all.
That's true.
And then
Yeah.
2 days later, you're like, sounds good.
I'm Corey. I'm the loud one. That's me.
Yep.
I project.
only
Mic
thing
check,
that
mic
contributes.
check.
Yeah. I destroy mics. That's me. That's what I do.
Right on.
Corey
Nice.
Von Mike Bain.
So we are going to talk about something that I know is near and dear to many in this group. It's Batman.
Batman.
Yeah. Two of you are wearing Batman shirts right now. I
Yeah.
just want to point that
Yes.
out.
It's Ollie and Corey.
Yeah.
It's
It's
Those are
us.
the two. Those are the two.
Corey's got his Catwoman shirt. You can't see it. It's probably one of the best Catwoman shirts I've seen.
Yeah.
It's the Eartha Kitt version.
Yeah.
It's just a
It's just a cat in space.
it's a cat in
It's a
space.
cat in space.
I bought it for $10 at Goodwill.
And
It's the best.
$10?
Yeah, Tom always calls me homeless, and now I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
No.
I'm just saying. I calls him how I sees him.
So, specific to Batman, what we're going to talk about is the Batman the Animated Series.
Yes, we are.
So good.
The 1992 life?
Ah.
September 5th, 1992? Something like that.
It's
I
like
was young
92
when I
to
watched
95 or something.
Yeah.
I was,
92, yeah.
I was 7 to 10 or something like that. But I
Yes.
remember watching it.
The
Yep.
brainchild of Bruce Timm.
Okay.
So Bruce Timm was the
Two M's.
creator and producer, and so much has been influenced because of Bruce Timm, and now DC and Warner Brothers want to bring him in for all animated things because of that
Yeah,
show.
for sure.
And they're not wrong to do so.
No.
I support that 100%. I think what he did for that, I remember that being one of the first cartoons that I didn't just put on in the background when I was younger. Like, I would actually pay attention and
Yeah.
follow the storylines and the
Yeah.
plots, and I had all the toys. Like, I think it was one of the first shows that it was like that. And I don't know if you guys remember the Ghostbusters TV show, the cartoon.
Oh yeah, where they had the little yellow disc thing.
Yeah.
that would suck thing. Ah.
Those were the two shows. To this day, I still have all the toys from those shows. But Batman the Animated Series was especially special. That music is
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the
haunts,
opening?
haunts me in the most beautiful way to this day.
Mr. Danny Elfman.
I mean, Batman is my favorite superhero, and the animated series is my favorite incarnation of that superhero, for sure. There's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
influence throughout my life for that.
Yeah.
Bruce Timm is a huge part for me. Paul Dini
Mm-hmm.
is a much larger part, and he is the creator of Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah.
With
Oh yeah. A lot of
Bruce Timm.
people
And,
don't know that.
And the show, I mean, Harley Quinn never would have been in existence at all. And like, Suicide Squad, all the Hot Topic, crazy
Anything.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that show created Harley Quinn, which is crazy to think about, like how deeply rooted she is in the like DC like
Yeah.
extended universe
for being
now.
such a new character.
Yeah. I mean, she's what,
Relatively.
25 years old.
Yeah.
25 years old. And like, we still don't have like an Atom movie. Yet we have a movie that features Harley Quinn. We don't have
Right.
movies that feature Firestorm or something like that. And we don't, I mean,
But we got 2 Dark Phoenix movies coming out. That's
Oh, good.
there's that.
I do want to make a one announcement before we start this conversation.
Yeah.
When we really get into it. I know that I am not going to be the ultimate nerdy one in this conversation. I'm
got you
going to be
covered.
the nostalgic guy that watched it when he was a kid. And I have other things that I nerd out about it.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm super excited to find out more because I know that, like, Tom, you're gonna have kind of a comic spin on it. And I mean, you were telling before we started recording, you were like, well, I've watched documentaries about this. So you're gonna have a lot of knowledge on this. So I'm gonna soak it in.
Good.
And I'm very excited to talk about it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just think what's so amazing about that show, and so I started watching some episodes today just to prepare a little bit more, and I was like, holy shit, this informs so much of what is today and what we know as the DC universe. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, you guys were talking about Harley Quinn. I mean, Harley Quinn is big right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's huge right now. People
Next
are
to
like,
Wonder
oh my gosh,
Woman.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Next to Wonder Woman, the top.
And that wouldn't be in existence. And what's so cool about that I was learning today is she was just going to be like this one-off character that they were going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just use her. And then they were like,
The audience
He
loved
just
it.
wanted a cool henchman for an episode.
Yeah.
yeah.
They wanted someone for Joker to bounce ideas
I
off
mean,
of.
Yeah.
and it's so influential. Kevin Smith named his daughter
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
character. It's like, holy crap.
Well, and it's such a cool thing because, you know, one of the characters in the Batman universe that so many people know really nothing about, or they think they do, but in reality they know nothing, is the Joker, right? Because there's always that, like, is the Killing Joke his origin story? Because there's that other comic where he's like, just depending on the day, I'll tell you a different story, right?
Yeah.
But there's one little piece of information that everyone knows is that once he got to Arkham, his doctor was Dr. Quinzel. And so just to have that blow up so fast and become such a solidified, this is what happened. And it didn't even come from the comics. It came from a cartoon that they made fit into the comic universe
Yeah.
is a phenomenon that I'll never understand.
Yeah.
I think it's
mean,
wonderful.
well,
In the
I
best
mean-
way. In the best
Yeah.
way.
One of the best parts of that show is how many villains were invented
Yeah.
into the universe from that show, just from it being like a serialized thing.
I'm like oozing with like, I want to talk about so many
He's got a
things.
nerd on right now.
Yeah.
You should have seen it.
Speaking of
It
which-
looked like he was having a stroke, is what just happened.
So I mean, the thing I love about the show is that like it was inspired by the Tim Burton, Batman movie, which some people still say is the best Batman movie. Michael Keaton's the best Batman. It is. To me, if you got Kevin Conroy, if you could have Meryl Streep be Batman and could have Kevin Conroy's voice, it'd be perfect. I don't care.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy in his
He
husky,
is that
gravelly
Batman.
He
voice.
can convince you no matter what.
Yeah, like he has the, intimidation, he has the compassion. But anyways, you were talking about the villains, and the thing I love so much about it is, so I mean, these characters have all existed beforehand. Some of them came out of nowhere, like Harley Quinn. But the thing that I really loved in the documentary that I was watching was how Bruce Timm was talking about how each villain really is a slice of Bruce Wayne or a slice of Batman to a different extent.
Yeah.
So like
Okay.
Scarecrow utilizes fear, but it's kind of like, what if Batman utilized fear in too far?
Yeah.
And so he would become
Because he
Scarecrow.
does.
Right.
He
And-
doesn't have a superpower. That's the thing that I love about Batman, and he's my favorite as well.
Yeah.
I love Batman, and he's just a guy.
Yeah.
And like I love in the trailer of the new Justice League where it's like, what's your power?
I'm rich.
I'm rich.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, it's really interesting because I never thought about it that way. That each of the villains are kind of a piece of him. And there's something that's always kind of bugged me, and I'm probably gonna get some flack for this as well. That I always
Cue
thought
the trolls.
I thought Marvel did a little better than DC was give a little more humanity to their characters. Like I always felt a little more torn on who to root for as far as like Marvel villains go. But in the animated series, they really made you kind of sympathetic for
They're
you. It
all
was the first time DC characters, villains, I had felt sympathetic
They're
for.
all tragic.
Yeah.
They're all tragic. And the thing that, again, so like Penguin, right? So it's kind of like the Bruce Wayne fortune. If it had gone the wrong way, it would become Penguin, Cobblepot.
right.
Killer Croc, his main fear is bats. And so it's kind of like, what if your fear ruled your life? Mr. Freeze, which I know Corey will.
Oh, I'm going to talk about that.
That's
But,
the
like,
that's
it's-
that's
It's
the
the
epitome,
loss.
I think.
It's the loss. What happens to you when you lose? Like when he lost his parents and Freeze and Nora Freeze and like Riddler when you become obsessed with knowledge. And so it's so beautiful to see how like.
Batman's really dark.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, it's just so multifaceted because
Well,
like Batman like is literally like this person that has to deal with all these things and like. In Mask of the Phantasm, Alfred says is like, I've always feared
we're
that
gonna talk about
you
that too.
walk along the line that you fight against every night. And I fear that one night you fall into it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like you said, he's just a guy. He's a human, and that's why I feel like so many people, like you have Spider-Man, then you have Batman, right? Like Spider-Man's very like identifiable because he sucks as Peter Parker, and then when he's Spider-Man, he's awesome. But Bruce Wayne is human no matter what. And the things that I think everyone loves about him is that he truly represents the human potential that we can be, and how the things that we always fight every day in our own lives.
I can be rich.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can be rich.
Can
gotta
be
believe.
a superhero.
And it's just that, to me, part of it that, and DC, you've told me DC's had this issue for a while. I say issue, and I'm air
Talking
quoting
about
it here.
DC animated?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
How about they make these animated shows that are supposed to be targeted towards kids, but they're not really afraid to touch on sort of more mature subjects.
We're talking
Sorry,
about
mature.
kids like 6 to 10 who are
Right.
supposed to buy
There's like
toys.
straight up
And
like
so-
quote unquote spousal abuse in like the Mad Love episode.
Yeah, and so what happens is adults start watching the show, and what happens is there aren't as many toy sales because it's mostly adults watching the show.
Yeah.
So the ratings are great, but the toy sales aren't great. So it's just this interesting little in between, like where do we live? Like where do these DC
what's interesting
animated
about it, because
live?
I was reading about it today, and like the like execs of that, they would produce a storyboard and the script and all that kind of stuff, and then like for each episode they would receive this report that was like pages and pages long that was like, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do
Oh,
that,
interesting.
no blood, no cigarette smoking, no choking, no, like, and it would just be like, this is what you can't do, you can't do, you can't do, you can't do this, and hey, where's Robin? Like
that's so they created the Joker toxin because of that, because they couldn't kill
yeah.
anyone in like a childlike fashion, so they just used the laughing gas and everyone's smiles just came up. So
it was
it's
their
like,
way around death.
but it's like how creative. Oh, it's so creative, this show. It's like it's such ahead of its time, you know. Like
I mean, it really is when you think
Tom
about
has
it.
such a raging nerd on right
Oh,
now.
man. Like in like a real cool tidbit fact, and if you've talked to me about Batman the Animated Series, I always tell you this one fact is that the artist, when they were first drawing it, you know, it's supposed to be like this noir, this thriller, this like crime mystery thing.
Art Deco.
In order for them to get true blacks, they stopped using white paper. They used black paper and then started drawing on top of that, so that the night sky, they just draw red on top of it. So
Whoa, I didn't know that.
So his like
That's awesome.
outfit is truly black, and then it's like, oh my god, how smart!
And they would use the
Oh,
blues, the highlights of the
Yes,
blues.
I was
the-
like,
And they create like the show is so good. I didn't even
It's
realize
so
when we were
rich.
because like it really was a showstopper and world starter, because it created, like, we had noir, we had Art Deco, and they created like noir Deco kind of a
beautiful,
thing.
too.
Yeah.
And it was that show.
It's the perfect setting. Like,
I
honestly,
love noir.
there's just no, I mean, the Art Deco is like, there's something that even to this day now, I mean, they used it so well that anytime I see anything Art Deco, my first thought is, oh, Batman. That's Batman. It's not like, oh, Art Deco. It's just like, oh,
The
that's
brilliant
the building
thing
like
about
Batman.
it is how effortless it was for them. It
Oh, yeah.
seemed, anyways. I
And
don't
how
know.
it fit the world so well, strangely. I
Yeah.
mean, we were watching it recently, and it like threw me off. I was like, are those cars from the 50s? And he was like, yeah, man, Art Deco. And I was like, never even occurred to me when I was younger that would be weird.
They have zeppelins.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Zeppelins.
And that was something created in the show. And they were like, oh, we should do this in the Batman world. This would be so cool. And it's like, it's fun to watch like the Batman movie, like the one with Michael Keaton, and you see that in the world. But then, like, and I know that we're not talking about this, but it's like they were starting to do that in Batman Begins. Like they wanted to kind of get that. And then they went another way, but that's a whole nother episode. But
Well, that's fine.
no, it's fine. It was a great movie. I'm just like, scene design.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I mean, for me, there's a specific, and I'll just jump into mine here. What I really wanted to talk about is the moment that Batman the Animated Series taught me something about storytelling, and it is the Mr. Freeze episode.
Yep.
And I kind of mentioned it a little earlier, but here's this. I had grown up watching like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sorry, Ollie and I were looking at each other. I'm like, that's the episode. And
I just
was like,
mouthed him
Cold
the
Heart-
episode-
Cold
the
Heart
episode
is like
title.
Heart of Ice.
Heart of Ice, yeah.
Heart of
But
Ice.
I
Watch
grew up
it.
watching like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, where Bebop and Rocksteady, they're just bad. Like, you never root for them. You're never like, I hope they kind of win. I feel bad for them. No, they're idiots. They're mean. Shredder's awful. Like he killed, Splinter's master and tried to kill Splinter. So like I had grown up with like very black and white, good and evil.
World domination.
Yeah, right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Like the Claw from Inspector Gadget. Like, it's very easy for me.
One-dimensional villains.
But the episode affected me so much that even not having watched it for like 10 plus years, I still remembered it vividly because here's this guy who all he was trying to do
Mr.
was
Freeze.
Mr. Freeze trying
Victor
to save his wife, right? And the mobster
Shout out to Victor Freeze now.
Tidbit: Freeze is spelled like fries.
Yes.
It's really weird.
Yeah. And it gets, someone pulls the plug on his wife and he's devastated and gets the cryogenic freezing on him and then has to be in the suit and all that stuff. And that was great. And he was really cool design. Loved his design, by the way. And that voice. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Very robotic.
The
very
voice
cold.
was amazing. But
Very
it was the
emotionless,
first
actually.
time, like, Batman starts to figure out who's doing this. And of course, he just thinks it's a villain at first. But the more you find out, the more, like you said, it's a piece of Batman. Like, he lost family as well. So he has to find this, like, moral compass way to fight him, but not really defeat him in a sense. And it was the first time I was like, oh my God, I'm kind of rooting for the bad guy in a way. And it taught me that stories are much better if they are a little more of that like gray area and you don't know which way it's going to go until the end. And it's just like, I've tried to hold that. Yeah. I've tried to hold that through any story I've told where it's not obvious the good and the bad. It's not obvious which road someone needs to take. Because I feel like it's a little more real. And
I mean, it's good storytelling.
Yeah.
Sorry, was I cutting you off? I'm so
No.
sorry.
I was going to say there's 2 episodes that I watched this past week to get ready for it. They were Mad Love and Heart of Ice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heart of Ice, I mean, there's a segment in it where he leaves one of his henchmen behind, like he gets caught in the freeze blast or whatever.
Yeah.
And like any other villain, you'd be like, oh, he's just being like an evil dude. But in this case, it was like perfectly mirroring his like cold heart, quote unquote, and like the mercy that he wasn't shown by his boss or whatever that pulled the plug. And I felt like genuinely for the first time, that made sense for a bad guy to do that to his henchmen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the thing I love, just like this goes on for all the episodes. I want to talk about an episode too. I think we'll all probably have a chance to talk about an episode. But the one thing I love about that episode, I think, so you're talking about like stories and lessons in life and all that stuff. The one thing I love is that Batman always tries to appeal to their humanity. He always like, stop. You can be better than this. And you always
That ending scene.
and you just feel like Batman is literally trying to save himself at the same time, and every single person he can't save, it's like a part of him he can't either. And it's just like you watch as a kid, you love the entertainment and you want to buy the toys and yada yada yada. You watch it as an adult with like new eyes, and you've been through life and bills and rent, and you're like, oh, this life is hard. And you watch it like, oh, I get it. I understand.
I get you, Victor.
Like you know the Batman, the famous Batman eyes when they squint, then all of a sudden they turn to like little like small like D's that just go to, it's like, oh, it's so sad. He's like really trying to save this person, and like that I think plays out a lot in there.
Well, there's that ending scene where I think he stops him, but Batman goes apeshit on the people who did this to Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
And I loved that moment because when I was a little kid and they caught him, I was like, no, he's just trying to like avenge his wife and stuff. So when Batman turns on the mobster, I was like, yes, he gets it. He understands me. And that's why we root for Batman. But it's just interesting. And I said this to Josh before. And the reason I think that DC and Marvel, why I really, as I got older, really understood is these stories aren't necessarily about like this guy's powers versus this guy's powers. It's like, how do people handle suddenly being given
Because
power?
The human part of, I like to think that the reason why we nerd on about superheroes and stuff like that is that there's that human element to it. And I think that good storytelling, I mean, it's like, yeah, you can read a good story, but then you add all of these like crazy things to it, like superpowers and stuff like that. It's like you're not connecting to the holy shit, that's really so cool that he can fly. Oh, but he also has this like secret life that he's trying to balance, and like he wants to have somebody to love, but he also wants to save the world. And it's like, it's not just about your superpowers or that you're from another planet. It's that you actually have these things that you have to do. Life is hard.
Well, it's life is hard. And the best, my favorite comic book stories that I've read, most of them given to me by Tom, are the ones that make me internally challenge my own morality. So, like, I'm going to reference, a little off topic here, but Flashpoint. The one where, and sorry, spoilers if you haven't read it or seen it or whatever, but
It's 10 years old if you haven't read
I know.
it.
I'm just saying. He basically has to choose he saves his mom, but it screws everything up. So he has to choose, do I just live this new life with my mom, or do I go make sure my mom dies so that everyone else can be happy? And like, I remember reading that being like, fuck, what do you do? So
the moral dilemma.
props to Tom for
Well, it's
giving me
kinda like the
those. So the
requirement to be
Mr.
a
Freeze
hero.
episode is like that. It's that very like challenges my own morality, but like, I kind of get it.
Well,
I
the
kinda
reason
get why he's doing it.
I think the reason comic book stories can be so good and so impactful is because they sort of have it's almost like they're cheating in giving you like a super dire circumstance every single episode or
Yeah.
every single issue to really pull out like these crazy deep humanity like
Questions.
decisions and morality
I want
choices.
the episode
and
that's
things
not
like
like
that.
it's the one between like what happens like
You talking about like Dragon Ball Z,
no,
where they're just sitting there gaining
Well,
powers
I
for
still
more
do that
episodes?
in between, like Alfred giving Batman chicken soup.
Chicken soup,
Yeah,
exactly.
like-
It's
yeah,
like the only cure for this.
It's the one small
cold.
moment that
But-
keeps it grounded.
I mean, but then the second episode, which is the Joker Christmas one, that one to me I think is a very filler episode because it's like Joker gets on this Christmas tree rocket and flies out, and then Batman's just like angry. He's like, "There's something going on in, like on Christmas," and then Dick is just kind of like, "Hey man, let's just watch It's a Wonderful Life," and he's like, "No," and then he sees some guy running after a woman, and then like Batman's about to throw a batarang, and the guy just gives the woman like, "Oh, you dropped this," and gives her a bag. And the Batman's like literally trying to be like, he's a Scrooge. He's literally trying to find crime, and there's no crime.
Yeah, that's as filler as it
It's
gets.
it's a very like,
But even for the animated series, that's a great episode
Yeah.
in comparison to a lot of cartoons.
and you
So-
get, I mean, and there's all this bunch of stuff, and that's where the whole like, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells comes from.
Yeah.
But I mean, that episode really doesn't have those kind of heart wrenching moments.
can't all be heart wrenching.
No.
You got to have those. But
every
anyway, that's-
Saturday morning you're like
That's what connected me with the show so much. It's just that test of morality, especially that Mr. Freeze episode.
Right.
So I wanted to talk about that for a minute.
Did you want to talk about the other episode?
Mad Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's probably one of my favorite stories in comic books.
What happened again?
In Mad Love?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's kind of, well, I mean, it starts with Harley like catching Batman, or no, trying to help Joker catch Batman or something, and he doesn't want anything to do with her. She's like in his way. He's at his last leg trying to figure out how to catch Batman in some clever way, and he's got schematics and blueprints and stuff.
This, yeah.
And then she keeps trying to get his attention, or keeps trying to like give advice or something, and he kicks her out, and then she goes off like walking down an alleyway, pondering how life came to where it is now. And then it goes back and it has the flashback, and it shows the origin story for Harley, and it shows her being Joker's doctor and all that stuff, and then building that attachment to her patient, and kind of showing that she's a little off kilter to begin with, which kind of helps. So all she needs is like a couple catalysts.
insanity doesn't just come about.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's like
like
a
gravity.
reverse Stockholm syndrome almost.
Yeah.
This is
That's what I was gonna say. I was
and this is like original animation, right?
I think this actually might have been
The New Adventures of
It might
Batman?
have been the New Adventures.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Because the
I like the animation on that.
because the comic came first. I want to say
Probably.
the one shot Mad Love, I believe, came first, and then they made it like an animated episode or whatever. Both written by Paul Dini, so it didn't matter.
The reason why I ask all you listeners is because throughout, Corey was talking about the dilemma with the animated series, and in order for Warner Brothers to get their shit together, quote unquote, so they could sell more toys, they made the Superman animated series, and it hit. It was super well, and they had all these tie-ins with the Flash racing Superman, Bizarro. They just did like the Freak of Week every like new episode. Supergirl was in there, and then so what they did with Batman, they ended up like changing art direction, and then they just went with that style so they could do crossovers. And then you might have watched World's Finest when they connected. So that's why I asked like when did it happen? Because for me, I also felt the tone changed because instead of Dick Grayson, they went to Tim Drake, and then by this time Nightwing was already a thing.
Yeah,
But I mean, Robin's Reckoning is the one that got like the Emmy Award.
I don't even think Robin was in that episode.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because I think it was such a straight adaptation of Mad Love, the comic, that they just wanted to keep
Just wanna do
true.
the story,
I think.
yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I think it's what I was reading about. I lightly mentioned it earlier. Is that they had a raging nerd on for Robin, and they were like, he hit so well that they were like, they had all these ideas for these like subplots to go off in this different world, and not different world, but I just mean like universe wise, and like let's bring these good guys, bad guys. Let's team up Catwoman and Black Canary. Let's do an episode about that. And they were like, but where's Robin?
Oh God.
Well, the same reason they invented Robin in the first place, which is they needed that to reach out to that young person.
Yeah, exactly.
Have that little kid
They
identify.
need a Boy Wonder.
Yeah,
exactly.
They need a Burt Ward. But I mean,
Or a
It was just the modern version of
Batgirl.
the modern version of executives wanting that again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get to the story when I guess later on. But do you have an episode you want to talk about?
You know, be perfectly honest, I don't. I mean, when we started talking about this, I was like, I think I know that show. I think I know that show, but I was thinking about the New Adventures of Batman.
Right.
And then when I looked it up, I was like, oh my God, my Saturday mornings just came flooding into me. And
Two-Face and
everything.
Riddler and Joker.
Because I mean, here's the thing. I mean,
Clayface.
that was WB, and at that time there were so many cartoons that were on, and it's not just
like quality cartoons.
quality cartoons that you're like, oh sweet Jesus, this is so good. But I mean, I really liked the villains. I mean, I always remember is his name Bat? Like
Man-Bat.
Man-Bat.
That's on
the first
every one.
episode, right?
He's
Yeah,
the
on
first,
Leather
like,
Wings.
He's the first like character that I think of when I think Batman the Animated Series. I'm
Yep.
like, oh yeah, Man-Bat.
Kurt Langstrom.
Yeah.
Another tragic villain.
Yeah, it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, and he's just doing it for science. And it's just like, oh, it's so good.
Well, that's what's interesting about, I mean, DC in general is that they tend to have, I think, far superior villains. And going back to Harley Quinn, like that story, like there was a period of time between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, like before between those movies were released, that I wish that I could write a fan fiction called The Dark Knight Falls, and have like that story in between there, and include like a live action version of like Harley Quinn and all that stuff, and have the Heath Ledger's Joker. It was like a total fantasy in my brain.
I'd watch it.
And for me, I feel
Anybody
like the perfect.
listening, contact Future Foe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll be.
First,
if you
donate
need-
to our page and
Exactly,
then contact
right,
Future Foe.
How about I let you write that? Because also, I was
Are you
thinking
gonna
about
you're gonna let him write it?
Well,
That's nice of you.
literally
Give
write
me the rights?
one of the parts.
Really?
Because the thing is,
Mr. WB?
I thought about that too, and I always thought about like how Nolan's like heralded as like the best Batman director of all time.
Right.
And I was like, why does Clayface get no love? Why doesn't Man-Bat get no love? Why doesn't
Well, I think the Harley Quinn story fits so well into the Nolanverse
'Cause it's a little more grounded
It's more
character.
grounded character, yeah. And I always imagine the perfect character, R.I.P., would be Brittany Murphy for Harley.
Oh, damn.
No,
That's
yeah,
good.
that was a huge fan cast for a long,
Was
long
it?
time. Yeah,
I
it was.
agree.
After Sin City.
Well done, internet.
Yeah, after Sin
Well
City, I remember
done.
that.
Yeah. So
Well, wasn't
that's
she
just
in that,
the fantasy that I play in my head.
Oh man, that would be. I just had to.
And then the
take a
same
moment
story,
'cause that would
Riddler
be
was
so good.
was the actual villain, because like that would be one side of the story, and Joker would be mostly in jail and all that stuff.
That is
Maybe
a
a Riddler.
Who'd
villain
you be a Riddler?
I wish was in the Nolan films. Was the Riddler.
You're gonna hate me, but I just can't help but not have his picture in my head. Jude Law.
You know what? I was thinking the
Really?
same thing. Yeah,
That's
Jude
funny.
Law.
Wow,
I could dig that.
Yeah.
Jude
I don't know
Law.
if he would be British or not, but it would be Jude Law.
Doesn't matter.
I feel like the physique works.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and it's weird, but like his nose ridge has the same one in the animated series.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I didn't even
it's,
notice
it's
that.
really, I don't know why.
Interesting.
I look at these things.
But that's my fantasy script, so if you want to learn more, at FeatureFo.
I kind of want to see, just for myself, physically, I kind of want to see Doug Jones play Riddler.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know
Yes.
why. Just seeing him in
Yes.
like his body in that suit would just
Yes.
make my life complete.
Oh man. So I mean, do you guys think that let's transfer? I mean, we're in 2017. Let's pretend that animated series didn't happen then. Do you think it would hold up now?
I mean, if they like, I
they
don't know where
release it
like
now?
Bruce Timm's like,
Yeah.
with the new animated series, it comes
I'm gonna
out-
say you can go first. You know more than I do. I'm gonna let you answer.
But I feel
first.
like this would be an alternate universe if that show didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like
We wouldn't
there
be
would
here right now.
I mean, because that show, it was kind of like this weird thing where I'm doing it in hand gestures and it doesn't really do it justice, but they gave to each other, the comics and the show, where it's like informed by each other, where it was
It's kind of like a chicken and the egg, but to
Yeah.
me, this is the egg.
Yeah.
That, like,
Well, I mean, it also rode that if it came out now, it probably wouldn't be Art Deco, wouldn't ride
Right.
the wave that
I think
the
it could
89
be
film did.
really good, but it could also be like super controversial.
Yeah.
If they kept some of the tones.
I
Oh
think-
yeah,
some of the
I think
stories.
if
for a
it-
kids show, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
well,
if it-
like you said on a past episode, the world's become kind of whiny little bitches. So I don't know if it would hold up.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
So I was
Sorry.
gonna say like it's tough because like things gave to each other with the Art Deco exists, and like that was more of like that means Tim Burton's Batman would never existed either because that one's the one that highly influenced it. But I just think of the Frank Miller adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah.
And how that's like
Yeah.
super rated and like people are getting killed, necks are being snapped. You know, it's just like
just
super-
the whole like Joker sequence.
yeah, and it's just like, but that we could never have gotten to that point because when you think about like, okay, cool, if the animated series were to come out today, what would it be like? I think it'd be like that because you know everyone's like, oh, gritty and dark means this.
I'm not
character.
wearing hockey pants.
You know, right? yeah.
What's so funny
You
about
got it in.
my
That's my one line I can impersonate.
my wife has this pilot that she wrote, and a comic book company was like, they were interested in the script, and they were like, "Do you think you could write a script for it?" And she was like, "Oh God, I have no idea how to write a comic book." So she read a bunch of comics, and she read
Dark Knight Returns?
Dark Knight Returns. And I remember when she was done, she was like, "Holy fuck, Batman's dark."
Yeah.
Let me just rick that shit. Hold on for a second. But Frank Miller,
It's Frank Miller.
I love you.
I know it's one of those like,
But he's like a misogynistic kind of an asshole dude who's just like doesn't
Yeah.
give a shit what you think.
Right.
Like he's a rough dude, and it's
Yeah.
like when you read stuff, you're like, God damn, stop, Batman, Jesus! Like I remember reading All Star Batman. This was like before the New 52. It was All Star Batman and Robin. It's like when Batman first gets Robin, and literally he kidnaps Tony Zuko, which is the murder of Robin's parents, wraps him up in like this thing, gives Robin an axe, and he's like, figure out what you're gonna do. Either you're gonna be an Avenger or you're gonna be a detective. And then Robin like throws the axe and like cuts through his lips, like binding, and then he's like, I'm not gonna kill him. And he's like, cool, you're a detective, your name's Robin. It's really weird, but then the whole thing through is like him meeting Black Canary, Huntress, Batwoman, and just making out with all of them. And then like all he does is
Frank Miller.
antagonizes like Green Lantern, like wearing all yellow, being a douchebag. I was like, Frank Miller, Jesus, my God, this works in Sin
Hashtag
City.
not my
I get
Batman.
it. I get it, but it's like, dude. And the cool thing, the shitty thing was like you had Jim Lee who was drawing it, and it looked fucking amazing. But it's just like, oh, he looks good, but he's an asshole. It's like a really like good looking person, but you really hate them.
yeah.
Yeah. There's
Rant
a lot of
aside.
actors I feel that way about.
Rant aside.
Like, you're beautiful, but you're such a dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and maybe, you know, it's hard to tell because I was going to say The Killing Joke came out recently.
Very recently.
And it did well, and I loved it. And it was, I mean, some people, it was loved and hated. Yes.
So to clear the air, so people are like, what is The Killing Joke? What is that? Da, da, da. And like, so the reason why The Killing Joke is such a huge thing, Mark Hamill said he would never do another Joker voice acting unless it was The Killing Joke. And it was a rated R film because Alan Moore is also a crazy ass dude who likes to make dark ass stories.
Yep.
And then, but the weird thing is that you got Bruce Timm.
He brought Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy,
who's like
everybody.
again heralded as the guy who made the Batman that we all know and love. And I want to talk a little bit about that and why people have weird perceptions. But in Bruce Timm's universe of the animated series, Bruce and Barbara Gordon have a thing. It's mentioned in Batman Beyond. It's mentioned throughout the thing. Like when Dick goes to college, Barbara's like, I'm into older guys. And she's like looking at Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne's like, yo, girl, I got these other girls here. I got Selena Kyle here. But you coming at me. And then it made sense at the time. But then when people
Yeah.
read the comic books and know that like the actual source material, watching The Killing Joke, the reason why I had such a weird panned review thing is because there's
Bruce Timm wrote an original
original sequence
in the opening.
where Batgirl and Batman have sex,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. And then after that, then they have the whole Killing Joke sequence, which is great, but it's super short. Alan Moore is like super short writer, and it's great, but like
Like he's short in stature, or
no, I think he's a giant.
You're talking about the
scary man.
comic book itself.
The comic book itself is really short.
Really
It's
short.
pretty short, yeah.
And it was controversial at the time as well because they kind of used Barbara Gordon as this plot device as opposed to an actual character. But I think what happened is when Bruce Timm wrote the beginning part, it kind of changed that scene
made
a
it
little
so
bit.
much more of a romantic interest. not just a
Again,
plot.
spoilers, but it's been how long?
I don't know, it's like 20,
Too long.
20 years at least.
So in the Killing Joke original comic, Barbara Gordon gets shot and paralyzed, and so she becomes Oracle. So in the Killing Joke, you only see her in that scene. So to have her appear for a scene and then get shot and paralyzed and like be this whole thing and basically raped, unfortunately.
It's alluded. You don't see it.
You don't see anything,
In,
but-
in the comic book, it's kind of alluded to, but you don't see it.
So a lot of people had an outcry of just using her as this plot device, which I kind of agree with. In the comic itself, confined to that, it is a plot device. But what Bruce Timm did, I think, personally, is make it into more of a story than a plot device. So now you see why Batman is a little more upset, why she is put into this kind of position. Joker knows that he cares, that kind of stuff. So I liked it, and it was an original story. What's your eyes doing?
I'm just thinking of the timeline because, so for all you that don't know, there's like 4 Robins: Dick, Jason, Tim, and then Damian. I don't know what timeline this plays in, but I think this is after Jason Todd gets killed, and so that makes it even more of a sense.
Yeah.
So it's like he's killed Jason, my second Robin, and now also he's like made my Batgirl, Barbara, like also.
And it's after she gave up
Yeah.
the cowl too.
Yeah,
So it's
she
not even
went to
like
have a life.
Yeah.
So.
Well, to
It's
that point, I
super
think comics are in a unique position, and maybe you can speak on this. Comics, I think, are in a unique position where it's okay for them to leave out bits of context because you assume that you've read however many issues of whatever series before it.
Yeah.
And it might just be the audience where you're more hardcore, so to speak, quote unquote,
Yeah.
I think that's
versus,
what's overwhelming to me.
like
about
it
comics.
coming to a movie or something where maybe people haven't been reading the comic books and don't know Barbara's significance in the storyline, and
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about
that's
that.
kind of what I was thinking of.
I thought the opening scene or the new stuff was great.
I thought it was fine, yeah.
30 minutes of
worked.
stuff. Yeah. I mean, it was cool, but I don't know. A lot of people were outcrying because like Barbara became like this like almost Huntress like character where she's like, I want to just beat up people and like I have this sexual obsession with like fighting and crime and Batman and yada yada. Where I mean, like, again, you could take it to that context, but obviously I don't think that's where the artist meant to do it. And I mean, like, if you've seen Bruce Timm's work, like seeing the Justice League, seeing Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, all these things that were influenced by him, like you could definitely tell like this is more like a family genre.
Yeah.
And he can go deep, he can go dark to those places, but like I don't think he would also throw away one of like the best written characters of all time.
No.
Right.
No. Anyway, I thought that was great. I think so that to that point, I think that if the animated series came out today, it would be a little different, but I think
Yeah.
it would hold up for sure.
I mean,
DC's got that animated life on lock.
well, I mean, like if you think about it, like right now, like Teen Titans, and now that's become Teen Titans Go because they opted to have it more child friendly. You have like Justice League Action, which was like compared to Justice League the show is a lot more childlike as well too. Going from Batman the Anime Series, it's actually a little bit more tame than what we were actually seeing now. Like to me, I'm comparing it to like shows like Avatar or like shows like Young Justice or shows like Clone Wars or Samurai Jack where
Yes.
they can go dark, they can go deep. And Batman the Animated Series, I wouldn't say it goes deeper or darker than them, but like they would be on the same playing field.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to see it because the animation's only going to get better.
Well, I think the cool thing about it is it didn't treat its audience like idiots, like
Yeah.
kids.
I mean,
It decided it was going to tell a story, and while it took some like no smoking, no killing, that kind of stuff, some creative stuff to make sure it was for kids, they didn't treat the kids like idiots.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool.
Well, thinking about it just in this conversation, I don't know if it would even be possible for it to be as impactful as it was back then.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a product of its time. Like with Dark Knight Returns starting to make Batman feel more gritty and grounded and realistic, and then having Tim Burton's movie
That's a
come
good
after
point.
that, and then
Because before Tim
leading
Burton,
right
it was,
into the animated series,
it was all camp.
it was all camp, and
yeah, and then
I think it probably inspired a lot of creators to want to
like holy
tackle the
shit,
material.
Batman can be serious.
and
The potential's unreal.
Exactly. And I think that's why it was so amazing then, is because it kind of awoke this probably creative energy.
So it's kind of like one of those things. Could it? Probably. Do we want it to? No.
No.
Because there's a lot of entertainment that we can just span this even just past. I mean, a lot of entertainment wouldn't be what it is today if
If
that
its
didn't
timeline
happen.
was shifted, right?
It would have
Or-
to be a massive tonal change
Yeah, like
for it to
Street
be as
Sharks.
impactful.
Well, talking about
Exactly.
talking about how like they were inspired by the movies and all that. After Batman Begins, The Batman was an animated series that came out, and my first thing was like, this Batman looks like Jackie Chan. And but the thing is, like, the animation's great. It's cool. He did a movie where he fights Dracula. The Justice League gets involved. He pretty much creates the Justice League. Robin gets involved. He's got like a jetpack. It's a very different vibe. The
Yeah.
Joker is not voiced by Mark Hamill. It's voiced by another really awesome voice actor. I don't know his name, but the Joker can fight. Everyone can fight. And that's the thing. Like, everyone has good fight scenes, and it's like it's different than the animated series that we all know and love.
Right.
Not saying that this one's bad, but the animated series that we're talking about right now is more of a drama. It's more of just good storytelling. And it's just about this character, Batman and Bruce Wayne, and like balancing the life and like going through it and like learning new things about his rogues gallery and everything like that.
I mean, even like to the point where, like, almost sometimes it would go to a fault, I think, to try to appease the kids and things like that. When like Joker would like have fisticuffs with Batman, like I almost didn't like believe that would work in the animated series universe. I just wanted them to just stand still and just have a conversation. Talk it out.
Just laugh it out.
Hug it out, bro.
Hug it out.
Can I share my favorite episode?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so my favorite.
No, Tom.
okay.
No, moving
No,
on.
we're out of time. Sorry.
My favorite episode is a two-parter, for Two Faces.
Oh.
So it's the Two-Face
I
origin.
love Two-Face.
Yeah.
He's
And
one of
the-
my favorite
the-
bad guys.
Yeah, the thing I loved about
Also
it
tragic.
specifically, exactly, it's tragic, but they built Harvey Dent up for such a long time. And one thing I really loved about Year One, the comic book, which I think definitely they took from, also I think a Frank Miller comic book. But the one thing I loved about it is that throughout, who's Batman? They're trying to figure out who Batman, but Commissioner Gordon, turns a blind eye because he doesn't care because he's like, okay, he's helping me out. People really suspected.
Just realized Commissioner Gordon's like a good guy, Greg.
Yeah, he is a good guy,
Just
Greg.
like-
Yeah, it really is.
Helps out the community and doesn't cause shit. Don't need to know who you are. Great.
Yeah. Harvey Bullock there with his little toothpick, all sweating everywhere. He's like, "We gotta find this Batman." Commissioner's like, "Don't worry about it." But the thing is that a lot of suspicion, and this is in the comics too, was that Harvey Dent was Batman. They had the same physical build. They were like had the
Yeah.
same affinity for justice, and
They even drew him the same.
and the
as
entire
Bruce.
and the entire time Batman was working with Harvey Dent. And the cool thing was that like Harvey Dent was like, as they showed in the Dark Knight movie, was willing to work outside the law to have Batman be the muscle and do things like that. Throughout and this happened, in the animated series this entire time. We're like, cool, Batman's going to take down the guy, and then Harvey Dent's going to be the one to prosecute them. And they had this really great teamwork thing, even though like sometimes Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent didn't meet eye to eye sometimes. And then it wasn't until like finally like you start seeing like Harvey Dent's like descent into madness. And that's what I think I really loved about every single villain is that everyone has their own descent to madness because of what it is. And we
Right.
talked about it, how like what would happen if you had a superpower. But the thing is like Two-Face didn't have a superpower. It was just a tragic event, or as Joker would say, one bad day.
Yeah.
And everyone has one bad day. We're all one bad day away from being like the Joker, or being like Batman. And
Man, what would that take?
yeah,
What would my bad day have to look like?
and the author and I think also the director of Arrival, weird side tangent, but they both talked about how the beautiful thing about sci-fi is that it's not supposed to be about like crazy interstellar, crazy adventures and all that stuff. It's supposed to be how like we can talk about humanity in a way that's digestible.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about
I
Two-Face,
like that. I didn't think about that before. I like that a lot.
yeah, and
Sorry.
the whole thing about Two-Face is like it's a mental illness. He's criminally insane because he has two personalities. I think they were dumb names like how's good Harvey, how's bad Harvey, and it's like okay, come on, you'd be better with the names, but it's just finally a traumatic experience where like one he thinks he's gonna lose his wife and he's like in deep with like the mob, and then all of a sudden like he realized like his good looks are gone too. It's like that's enough for him to like lose it, but then at the end he like Batman does appeal to his humanity and tells him like you need to help me and not like try to kill people and all this stuff, and like don't like this is not the way to do it, and he wins. And the thing is like you actually think for a second there's hope that like Batman will save Two-Face's soul, which is great and brings me to one of my favorite trade paperbacks, which was from Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb, which is Hush. And at this point in
yeah.
the timeline,
Your autographed copy of Hush?
yeah, from Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Going crazy with like
Yeah.
comic books and the animated series and the timelines. But at this point, Two-Face has gone through so much rehab and he actually went through facial reconstruction. He's just Harvey Dent. So it's really cool to
Oh,
see
wow.
like how the comic books and the TV and the animated series have influenced each other. And I think we talked about it, how like comic books are in a really great place. I mean, like going off another side, man, I just talked about so many
But he
things.
sees himself as like all ugly, right?
Well, that's in the Dark Knight Returns, but like in the this comic book, like Harvey Dent's literally like almost like a vigilante at this point because he uses his same connections as Two-Face, but just
Interesting.
to fight crime itself too.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. But yeah, so many side tangents. But like even Marvel, right? So like before Iron Man 1 with Jon Favreau, Iron Man sucked. No one liked him. And then all of a sudden the movie was a huge hit. Then it was like Iron Man's gonna be the director of
Well,
S.H.I.E.L.D.
they changed the whole character after Robert Downey Jr. took it over.
Well, I mean,
Because
like-
he used to be like kind of stoic, an alcoholic, and a dick.
Yeah, and
no one liked
late,
him.
and everyone called him Buckethead and everything like that. But it's just like the movies influence the comics create like the show like then there's so much love for the Batman the Animated Series that they made comic books after it, and like we're talking about with the Mad Love thing, where it's like they're still making Batman the Animated Series comic books that go on afterward the show, and they'll tie into the Justice League or they'll tie into Batman Beyond, which is like, but it's based off
It's a
the
whole nother
animated
episode,
series.
Batman Beyond. Tom can go on.
Oh my god!
I like. I was reading something today that they were trying to. So like when Batman and Robin happened, the movie, the movie we don't talk about, they wanted to do a tie-in, like several part series or something like that of the animated series, and the movie was so bad that they had to hold off for like another year
Oh my god!
because it was going to tie into the story.
Talking about
somehow.
Mr. Freeze. Jesus Christ!
Well, I want to know.
What killed the dinosaurs?
The Ice Age.
Well, I want to know how, in what ways you think Tommy Lee Jones elevated that character.
So
You mean when he played the Joker?
I'm gonna say. I'll say this. You know what's funny? Everyone compares Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Batman, and Michael Keaton. No one compares Aaron Eckhart to Tommy Lee Jones. I'm just like, hey, with no
they're
love.
two
For good
different-
reason, because one played Two-Face and one was dressed as Two-Face playing the Joker.
But I mean, like, this is also Two-Face that, like, literally was, like, from the comic books, like, had a house that was, like, half, and he had Drew Barrymore on one side. He got this devil chick on the other side. So I was like, that's kind of funny. That's, like, it's the kooky, you know, Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton world, which, again, the animated series was based off of. But, you know, and Aaron Eckhart didn't play off...
I don't know. I wouldn't call the animated series based off the Schumacher
No,
universe.
not the Schumacher, but Tim Burton. But I will say, like, even Aaron Eckhart didn't have the whole, like, suave, like, Harvey Dent Two-Face thing, too, where he's like, I'm this guy with a scotch glass and, like, flipping my coin, wearing a white suit and a black, you know, it's like, he just had a burnt suit. And then, I mean, like, again, the realism
Because you won't feel
versus,
bad
like,
for that kind of
stylistic.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted you to feel bad for him, so they made
Well, I
him the White
think,
Knight of
you know,
Gotham.
it fit the Art Deco. That suave, has a scotch, has a toothpick.
White
kind
hair,
of thing.
blue face,
Yeah,
giant eyeball.
but like if you want to bring that into the universe that Nolan had created, you've been like, that guy's a tool. Like you never would have
Well, like,
felt
and
bad
I
for
have
him.
to say something. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Let's get to it.
No, I'm gonna get so much shit for them from my fellow hosts.
Are we about to
But-
hashtag
okay.
not my Batman right now?
No, but okay. So
You like the Thurketh?
for the everybody playing the home game of Nerd On, my belief about movies is I just want to be entertained, and those movies are so stupid.
But so good.
They're so good.
Takes off the plastic lips when he kisses her.
I mean, it's so bad, but you watch it and you're like, oh god, it's so good.
It's not good.
Who has a henchman named Frosty? I mean, you got the...
What was the expiration date on his Batman credit card?
never.
Forever, right?
Forever.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was forever.
I mean...
Oh, man.
I will admit one thing.
Okay.
One thing about
Okay.
those films. There is on YouTube, you can check this out. There is a video comprising all of the Batman saying, I'm Batman. And for some fucking reason, Val Kilmer's is the best. It's so good. I love Kevin Conroy, and he will forever be my Batman. Anytime I hear his voice in an interview, I go, is Batman here?
Oh my
but
God.
in that video, back to back to back, Val Kilmer knocks it out of the park. Knocks it out of the
I love
fucking
Val.
park.
Here's what I'll say, and I might actually get some flack as well, but probably not as much as you. But
Jesus, this is the
falls
flag
into
game
that
right now.
category of I feel like the second and third Matrix movie, where like if it ended after the second Matrix movie, we wouldn't hate the second one as much.
If it would ended after the first one. I
If
wouldn't-
ended the first one. But
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if it, I mean the second one wasn't terrible, but the third one was pretty bad. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it was real bad. We can agree on that.
But I don't know.
The
But
show went towards a totally different level.
this is our segment
like,
of
well,
I'm going to get flack for
I
this.
mentioned this is The reason I mentioned this is because I feel like if they never made a fourth Batman movie, we wouldn't be so hard on the third one. But
True.
maybe,
Yeah.
Oh, like if they never made Batman and Robin, like they ended on
Right.
forever.
yeah.
I
'Cause
agree.
now they're
You know
just
what? I
split up
agree.
into two
You know what?
categories.
You're
That's a
right
really
Because
good-
Batman and Robin is when they did the cod pieces and
yeah,
the nipples.
and they did butts. Well, no,
Yeah.
at the end of Batman Forever, they did the nips because it was
Because I didn't hate Val Kilmer either.
well, it's funny too because like the cool thing about the development of the Bruce Wayne character. Why are we talking about the movies and supposed to talk about the anime? Anyways,
Because it's all the same.
It's all the
but
same.
the thing is, like, the cool thing about the development with Val Kilmer's Batman is, like, he's been doing this all alone. He just had, like, Selena Kyle leave him, and then, like, Nicole Kidman's trying to analyze him the entire time. And then you have this Robin who literally is this representation of his life. Like, he's like, I could do something about him. I could steer
You
him
could
in
do
the right
laundry
direction.
angrily, yeah.
And we do all that sequence. But, like, it's him having to learn how to bring people into his life instead of pushing them out because he got hurt by Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool. And you know what I'll say? You know, we all give like the rubber lips and the like the nips and all that stuff. I also, I
Rubber
just,
lips and rubber nips.
I
You just got a
have,
show title.
I have a problem with Michael Keaton ripping off this cowl. I was just like, dude.
Oh, how he destroys the
I was just
like,
like, this
Oh, yeah, he,
is
like, rips
I
it
will
off.
say
Most
this
though.
non-functional mask.
How do you
of
get
all
in it in
time.
the first
This is
place?
how
You have to
I've
rip off
hi-
every single one?
This is how I've always seen this. I think that Michael Keaton is a great Batman, and I think Christian Bale is a great Bruce Wayne. That's how I've seen the movies. I haven't been a huge
Wow.
fan of
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I love Michael Keaton, don't get me wrong, but when
Because
he's Bruce Wayne,
you don't
he's-
like him. You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts?
He's Michael Keaton. Yeah, you want to get nuts? Yeah. But there was something about the way Christian Bale really embodied that like Playboy kind of thing really
Suave
well.
ass.
Yeah, that I thought Michael Keaton never got. So I would
Debonair.
love to just combine those two.
Well,
I'd love to hear Michael Keaton say, "I'm not wearing hockey pads."
You know what's? There's a really cool picture. You could look it up, like True Bruce Wayne, and it's literally an
Bruce Wayne
amalgam or whatever the hell you pronounce it.
amalgamation.
Yes, of every single person that's portrayed Batman, including Adam West, and it's in one face, and it looks like this sexy ass dude.
Everyone should look that up at home.
Look it up at
Look it
home.
up right now.
But like speaking of like voices, I think that's another iconic thing, and I know you
That
have something
is-
to speak about
that-
this.
I'll
Okay.
have to something to speak about it too.
So, okay.
Go ahead.
Because you got Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill.
I mean, the thing is about like animation period. Voiceover to me is incredibly interesting. It's one of the things that inspired me to become an audio engineer. And I mean,
you married into it.
I married into it. It's, it's,
So did I.
yeah, right. And
Shout out to our wives.
shout out to our wives.
Shout out to the single guys.
Yeah. But I think what is interesting about this show from a voiceover standpoint is that, like you even said, you were like, Kevin Conroy is Batman. And
Forever.
a thing on that was so funny is that there's a video online. I don't know if you've seen this. It's Kevin Conroy reading the famous speech from The Dark Knight.
Yes.
And you're just like,
you had chills.
did I ever
He's
tell
like
you?
dubbing over it, right?
No, it's
No,
at
no,
a
no.
Comic-Con convention. They
Yeah,
just
he-
gave it to
he-
him on a
he
piece of
reads it.
paper.
There's one where it's dubbed over.
Oh man.
What?
Yeah, there's one where it's like they do the ending sequence of The Dark Knight where he's like, I could be those things, call it in. And it's like they cut it. I think they probably cut it up from the same clip and it's like dubbed over. The
Oh my
exact
God.
Same shot.
Did I ever tell you my Mark Hamill story?
No.
No.
Please.
I have a Mark Hamill story. So, everybody else at home playing the home game of Nerd On, I am an audio engineer, and I got a chance to work I was working at a studio for a couple of years, and I was working a voiceover session. I was the assistant engineer on this, and Mark Hamill was the talent that day.
Did he sit
And-
down?
My God.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. He's an incredibly nice guy, but everybody in the booth was giddy. We were all just
I
giddy
bet.
because the thing is about Mark Hamill was so interesting that I think that this show, the animated series of Batman, did for him. He's not Luke Skywalker anymore.
No.
He's now the Joker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And so everybody in this booth, in the recording booth, are just sitting there giddy. They're like, "Oh my god, it's Mark Hamill. Oh my
It's the
gosh,
Joker."
and they're like, "Oh my god, it's the Joker." And they no shit ask him to do the Joker, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." And he did the Joker. He just went
What?
on this tangent, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can die and."
You could
be
die right
happy."
there and
Yeah,
just be
and I'd
fine.
be fine.
Everyone
I'm in
would
a recording
understand.
studio, and
Like
that just
Josh
happened.
died. Mark Hamill did the Joker. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Oh, okay, that,
Yeah.
that
He lived a
makes
full
sense.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, voiceover to me, I just think that show was pretty amazing. If you go back and you listen to the episodes, just listen to it. I mean, the voice acting is just amazing.
By everybody. And
Yeah.
there was this one little news thing that pissed me off. It was like a "Where Are They Now?" And they said something about the Star Wars cast and how Harrison Ford is the only one with a career. And I got so mad. I was like, no,
What?
no. Mark Hamill's a Joker forever. He changed comic book history. If
Lando
anything,
Cal-
he has the career.
Lando Calrissian became Harvey Dent.
He did, and then they never used
They
him.
never used him. Goblins and ghouls.
But
So then-
yeah, he's amazing. I mean, of course, you hear the stories of him like never sitting down in the booth when he does the Joker because he feels like he has to
Yeah,
move
because
and be animated.
it's a no. He to answer your question going way back. No, he did not sit down.
Yeah.
But no, it's the thing about voice acting. I think is that you really should be standing up. Like my wife, Bonnie.
emotion.
Shout out to my wife.
Taking away my thunder guy. Taking away my thunder guy.
Doing it before you can.
I
know. She has a hard time sitting down when she's doing it because if you want to embody a character, it's like
Well, it's in the title. It's voice acting. It's
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
sitting there reading lines.
Voice
You're
talking.
acting. And
Yeah.
a lot of people
Voice
who
reading.
want to get into that world forget that
Yeah.
it is acting. You
Yeah.
still have to pretend that you
you
are,
can show up in your sweatpants, of course, but
Right.
you still got to act.
Right. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
think that's. I'm so jealous.
It's
of
so
you that
fun.
you guys do
It's so
that.
funny. I've remembered countless times. I literally just go on YouTube and look up like Mark Hamill doing Joker impression
Oh,
or
yeah.
Joker voice, and it's like
Reading
I don't
Trump
even
tweets.
want to see the animate. I just want to see him
Yeah.
like get into the character and do it. And it's so funny. Like you'll be hard pressed to find a lot of good clips.
Yeah.
And like you try to look for behind the scenes like featurettes and all that stuff. They talk about, oh yeah, it's so great. They talk about the producers and the engineers. Like, I don't give a shit about you guys. I want to see him do the voice. And it's like you see him do it at Comic Cons and all stuff. But then like there's so many people talking. You're like, I can't hear it. I just want to hear him like in clear, good quality. And then The Killing Joke came out, and there's so much of it. But
Yeah.
the thing I do love, I'm sorry, I'm time stamping this, but it's like how now on Twitter, how he's only just tweeting and doing voices of all of Donald Trump's tweets.
Yeah.
In the Joker voice, which is like, oh, it's a godsend. It's
It's
so
the
good.
greatest thing.
Um,
But man,
It's like watching Andy Serkis do Gollum to Trump
Oh, yeah.
tweets. Oh my gosh, it's
it's those
amazing.
little nerd nuggets.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's so good.
Oh my god.
I got a story.
Okay. Tell it.
So I work in production for commercials and short films and all that stuff since I moved down here to LA, and I write my own stuff. But I was working with a commercial company, and one of the producers I know was producing an independent project, an independent short film. And the independent short film was written and directed by Kyle Higgins. For all you comic book nerds who know him, he's a comic book writer. He's doing right now the new Boom comics for Power Rangers, which is fucking taking the world by storm because it's so goddamn good.
Wow,
He did a lot of
weird.
Nightwing. He did a lot of Batman Beyond. And he was doing a short film. Go check it out. It's called The Shadow Hours. But one of the actors he had on there was Lauren Lester. And so I was like, who's Lauren Lester? And then my producer's like, oh, Tom, you're a comic book guy. You know this guy. This is Robin. I was like, Robin? And he was like, this is Nightwing. I was like, Nightwing? And I was thinking, I was like, right now, currently, there's a Batman animated series I have not watched called Batman Unlimited. And Will Friedle, who voices Terry McGinnis, Batman, and Batman Beyond, is now that Nightwing. And then before, I don't know who the voice actor who did Robin for Teen Titans. And I was just thinking, I was like, who the hell is Lauren Lester? And I looked it up. He's the original voice actor for Robin in the Batman animated series.
Oh,
he
man.
is
He's
Robin.
Robin.
Like
He is
he is Robin.
and I was just like, he's just very, and it's so crazy because again, we talked about like how they needed a Robin, they needed a Boy Wonder who's got like this very like nice spunk and like hope in his voice. And then I meet this guy, he's a lot older than I am, and I just see him with his white T-shirt and some jeans, and I'm like, so you're Lauren Lester? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, do they need me on set? I was like, no, you're Robin. He's like, yeah. I was like, can I get a picture? He's like, I don't look good right. I was like, I don't care. And there's a picture of it on my Instagram and everything, but it was just like, I'm this close to touching like my childhood in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good-
In a good way. I'm just like, man, so close to like Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, but it's like now I follow him on Instagram. I'm just like, dude, he still gets invited to go to conventions and all stuff. I'm like, dude, this is it's so awesome, so crazy, and seeing him work and then seeing him like act and all that, and he portrays different varying levels and range of his character, but it's like all I hear is Robin. It's like, oh.
It's the same thing. Anytime I hear Mark Hamill on any other cartoon or anything, I think Joker. Anytime I hear Kevin Conroy talk to anybody, I'm like, oh, it's Batman. There's that like whole story about how he's in that soup kitchen and no one believed he was Batman. They're like, we have Batman working in the soup kitchen. Everyone's like, yeah, bullshit. And so the guy's like, hey, do the thing. And he was like, I am Batman. And he's like, the whole soup kitchen went quiet. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, it's Batman.
So, and it's, it's funny, like going back to your story of like going to that super cut of all the people saying Batman. Like when I think of like when someone says I am Batman, I think of episode 1 on Leather Wings when, is it on Leather Wings? I think it's on Leather Wings, but it's a Scarecrow episode. But pretty much Batman is like facing his fears and he's like flying and he's on a Zeppelin and he's like, and his like a figment of his father comes to him. He's like, you're not good, blah, blah, you're gonna fail. He's like, no, I am the Knight. I am vengeance. I am Batman. I was like, oh my God. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, just
The last
all over
thing,
my TV.
Not to open up a Pandora's box here, but I just want to let the viewers know, if you want to see the greatest Batman story of all time, best Batman movie,
Yeah.
it's Tom's favorite, Mask of the Phantasm,
Mask of the Phantasm.
is the best Batman movie of all time.
So
I have to go see it.
he
owns it. We'll just do a movie
Danny
night.
Elfman did the theme.
We'll spend 5 minutes
for
on
the
this.
animated series, but Shirley Walker did the composing for this one, and it's like it's so good. But
My reasoning, I can sum it up in 2 sentences because I've been thinking about this all day. The reason I think it is the best Batman movie. You want to go first?
I was like, let me just tell you the story.
Yeah.
So the story is like it's in the middle. It's during the time of Batman the animated series, and this is Paul Dini and Alan Burnett and Bruce Timm making this movie. And pretty much the movie, all it is that Batman.
While the series was still running.
Yeah, and Batman is pretty much just trying to find a killer, a masked killer that's framing Batman for all these like mob boss kills, and that's it. And the one thing I love about it, real quick, is just the scope of it. It's not the Joker trying to destroy Gotham. It's not like Superman coming over because Lex Luthor is doing some crazy thing. It's literally Batman just trying to stop a killer,
Yeah,
and that's why it's so well.
It's a real
contained.
detective story. And like the thing that touched me the most watching it, because I watched it once when I was young, I was like, that was cool, it's Batman. But like watching it now as an adult, there's this beautiful moment, like I'd say like 3/4 of the way through the film, where Batman is really struggling if he's going to be Batman anymore, and he's at his parents' grave, and he's like, I know I said that
The rain's coming down. There's
Yeah.
a giant headstone.
And he's talking
crying.
to his parents, and he's like, I knew I said that I would avenge you and like, protect Gotham. He's like, but I have a chance to be happy, and I think I might do that instead. And I like teared up. I was like feeling it as an adult. I was like crying to a cartoon, like on a TV, like little 75-minute film, and I'm like tearing up, going, what? And it's the first time you really get to see this like struggle that Bruce Wayne goes through that the movies don't portray as much because it's probably not as interesting or whatever.
Well, I think that's before you, I'm sure you got a lot to say. I think that's the huge.
Talking to me, guys.
That's
Talking
the
to me.
huge flaw, I think, with Rises is that it's not that. Is that it's the opposite of him quitting because he was sad and mopey.
Yeah. This one he almost quit because he had a chance at being.
I would have loved
truly
that
happy.
instead.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you hear a lot in the movies about how he respects his father's ideals and what his parents did for the city and how they changed the world and how he kind of lives in that shadow, always trying to respect that. But you never really get to see him truly grieve in that sense and really have this, again, a struggle of morality. Do I keep doing this thing I told my parents, I swore to myself I'd do, or do you think they would want me to be happy and live a life? So it's really interesting. So go see it.
It's like literally 76 minutes, which is ridiculous how they're able to put such an amazing story. And I told Corey this: if I were ever dream job, like I said, I would want you to help you if you want to help write it. If I were ever get the chance to do a Batman movie, my origin would highly be influenced by that, because the thing is like, and there's so many good video essays that talk about it, is that this film took so much of a big risk.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
And
there's some origin shit in there.
that
You
they
get everything.
changed. They retcon a lot of things.
Really?
They retcon the Joker. They retcon Batman. They retcon like love interest. They introduced a character which is actually voiced by Lois Lane, which is pretty cool. I think she has a sexy voice.
Yeah.
I don't know how she looks like, but she has a sexy voice. But like they bring her in, Andrea Beaumont. I would have Rachel McAdams.
My
cast
wife?
it as her. It's so good.
Be still my beating heart.
But yeah, like Corey said, it literally you see, and it plays like a Nolan movie because it jumps between timelines. So it's
Right.
beautifully done that like you're piecing together a plot as you're watching the film.
Just held together by score.
Hashtag that's my Batman.
It's so good. Watch it. Mask of the Phantasm. If you buy it on DVD now, it's probably super it's put in with like the Sub-Zero movie, which
Yeah.
is Mr. Freeze movie, which is great. I'll let you guys borrow it if you want. Did I let
I
you
gotta
borrow
see it. No,
yeah, it's
I let,
good.
We should have a movie night.
we should.
Yeah.
I really want to watch
We
this
need to
now.
have a movie night.
I
my
love
God.
it. Let's do it.
Oh my god.
So
Cool.
on that note, we've nerded all over the microphones.
Sorry.
Oh my God, yes.
Let me go get you a
And
towel.
I think we need to clean them off. So I think we should stop the episode there. But
I
there's
think
some
so.
important things to talk about. the
You know what?
biggest
I'm
thing
gonna
to-
do a quick. I'm gonna do a quick shout out. I'm gonna do a post once this comes out.
Okay.
On Instagram about Batman. You tell us your favorite animated series episode. We'll talk about it. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag it. Hashtag it. That's my Batman.
Yeah, please.
Please do it. Just so we can laugh every time somebody hashtags.
And where will they find that Instagram post, Josh?
The Instagram. Ooh, good segue.
Every time.
You
Segwa.
can, Segwa. You can find us on Instagram at Nerd on the Podcast. We're on Twitter, Nerd on the Pod, Facebook, Nerd on the Podcast. If you search on YouTube, that is what you're going to have to do because we're not big boys yet. You have to search Nerd on the Podcast.
Links in the website.
Link is in the website. Hey, and you know what else is on the website? There is a link on the website. And I hate to be the person to ask this, to throw this out there, but running a podcast is not something that just kind of happens. It's something that we actually have to put a lot of time and
Blood, sweat, tears, and dinero.
dinero. And so we're reaching out to our audience.
That Robert De Niro.
And there's two things. Thank you for listening. It's a big deal. Thank you for listening.
We appreciate you. We love you.
Yes, you.
Yeah. Yes.
Specifically you
Yes,
listening.
you. The
I'm
one
talking to
that
you.
is-
Not anyone here.
We love
Just you.
making sweet love in your ears.
So, any little bit. I
wasn't ready for
apologize
that.
for that.
If you have a little bit of disposable income,
Yeah.
throw a couple ducats our ways. We will be gratefully.
Yeah. And it'll go
gratefully
towards.
grateful.
Yeah, gratefully grateful. I would be gratefully grateful.
Gratefully alive.
Hashtag blessed. No, every little bit helps. There's lots of stuff that has to go into
Yep.
the show that we are putting our moolah towards,
And
our
that's on
personal
our
monies.
Website, right?
Yeah, it is on our website.
And Josh, where can they find you?
They can find me at Twitter, just Joshnia. You can find me on.
I hate it.
You can find me on Instagram, Joshua S. Manley, Facebook, Joshua Sterling Manley,
about the
IMDb, Joshua Sterling, PSN, Sterling J85. Let's play. It'll be fun.
You could find me, Tom, at Tall Dark Not Ugly on everything. Thomas, Pet Borderstooth on IMDb. And that's all the things that I got.
Great. You can find me on Instagram. It's Corey, Corey 89, or at We Are Storyboard, BORED, or wearestoryboard.com.
Ollie, you can find me on Twitter at FutureFoe. Find me on PSN, Future_Foe. You can visit my website, futurefoeplays.com, where I have a lot more information about all that I
You can
do.
listen to that sweet, sweet, sexy voice.
Gravelly
even
voice.
more so.
Can you voice Batman?
Let's hear it.
I do ASMR Batman.
But as always, nerd on.
Ending broadcast.